Welcome to Florida Gators Live 38. We are less than 5 weeks away, just over a month away from the kickoff of the college football season, week 0. 34 days and 41 days until the Gators kick off against Long Island. Welcome back to another show here. We have some good stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about all the stuff that happened at SEC Media Days. It felt like there was a different level of confidence from the Gator squad this year than we've seen in years past. I don't know if you picked that up as well, but I know I certainly did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we'll get into it, but I mean, I think Florida under Billy Napier, like he's pretty much always like it's never just unchecked confidence from Billy Napier. I mean, he's the guy who came in when he got the job and said, "Hey, like, this is gonna take some time. We have to build the system." So, the fact that I think this turn sort of started a little bit going into last season, and then I think really going into this season, you just see a level of confidence. I think a level of belief that he's got the guys here now that he needs to win. I mean, he's flipped the roster almost completely from the Mullen era at this point. He's got his guys, as they say.
Spot the ball. We'll get into that later. But we're also going to be talking about 5-star quarterback Elijah Haven. Gators seem to be making a big push for him. We'll talk about what could potentially play out there and how that could impact our QB room in the future. And we're going to do our Florida versus Texas A&M early preview. Last week we did Texas, and both of us came out of that a little bit lower on Texas than we originally had thought. I think we're going to have the opposite here, being a bit higher on Texas A&M when it's all said and done. But before we start the show, really, last night, such a sad moment. Retirement of Dustin Poirier in the UFC. If any of you all watched that, I'm a big UFC fan. And Dustin Poirier was like my first favorite fighter. He's my favorite. So, to see him have his retirement fight last night, it was kind of sad, but it's good knowing that he's not going to go out like sad like a lot of UFC fighters do.
So I'm not a big UFC guy. I'll watch it. One of my friends is, and I'll watch it with him from time to time. I didn't watch last night. He won, so he went out on top.
No, he lost.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were saying.
What I mean is like he didn't go out sad. It's like he had a good fight. Like he lost a fight where it was a competitive fight. Like he still looked like he could still compete for another years to come against good competition.
How old is he?
Like a lot of UFC fighters, like they'll lose, and then it's like okay, they'll maybe take a step down, then they'll lose another close fight, but then it just starts getting embarrassing. But him, going out still at the top of the division, so nothing really too much to worry about there. But let's start off the show by talking about SEC Media Days, and we just mentioned it the Monday before. So Billy spoke on Wednesday. And the Monday they released like the strength of schedule rankings and had Florida at number 1. And Billy goes out and tweets, quotation marks, spot the ball. And it's like that fire we see from Billy right there is something that we feel like we haven't seen too much from him. Because usually it's just cool, calm, collected, I guess. Maybe shouldn't be as collected as he's been, but just cool, calm, and letting things play out. But he makes that tweet. And social media and Gator fans are going crazy. Did you have a reaction to that?
Well, I mean, it's kind of become the new, like almost like a new Gator boys stay hot, right? Like I feel like people have started. It's kind of become a new catchphrase. I mean, I think that's a good observation on your part that the overt confidence, because like I just said, I think this more confident Billy, I think started going into last season, and obviously the start of last season didn't really reflect that. The end of it did more so. But even then, that was much more of a quiet confidence from Billy. Like I remember the first time I really gauged this was when he did a Josh Pate interview last year going into the season. And like, he didn't come out and be like, yeah, we're going to come and compete for the SEC this year, but you could just tell that he felt really good about where the program was at. I mean, obviously it took some time, but that was kind of ultimately vindicated last season. So, but yeah, I think now, like just seeing him come out and say, spot the ball. Like, I mean, it is a level of fire you don't really see from Billy Napier. He's usually a pretty stoic guy. So, it's cool to see that. And I think more than anything, it's just interesting to see that. I think it speaks volumes.
Yeah, it's nice to have this momentum right now. And it's like, I saw someone make a little connection there. Going into the basketball season in 2024, 2025, we were projected to finish 6th in the SEC media poll. Well, now in college football season, we're also projected to finish 6th in the SEC. Now, obviously, they don't really have anything to do with each other, but there is some hype around this Florida team, and we're going to be ranked a little bit higher than the basketball team was going into the season. So it's nice to see the momentum. It's kind of carrying over from basketball. Many people have talked about it. I'm pretty sure we've mentioned it here before. Basketball team won the national title. That football team is on the longest win streak of any team in the SEC. And now you're having the coach go out and, hey, they're saying, hey, this is a negative for Florida and it's something that's going to hold him back. But he's like, hey, we're going to go prove it on the field. Spot the ball and we'll show you guys what this team truly is.
Yeah, I mean, number one strength of schedule last year too, I believe. And I mean, like, I think the schedule last year was difficult. I think it ultimately proved to maybe not be quite as difficult as we were expecting it to be. I mean, obviously, like, LSU wasn't quite the team people thought they were going to be. Ole Miss was good, but also wasn't quite the team people thought they were going to be. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is that, like, I think it will be a hurdle, but like we've seen this before. I mean, I don't think it's going to be so difficult that, like, where there's a will, there's a way. Like, I think Florida can win 9-10 games this year. Like, I don't think the schedule is going to preclude you from doing that. You're just going to have to play well. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously just shows that Billy's not, not worried about it. Cause I think if you got Billy off the record being honest with you, I think you probably going into last year would have been like, really, man, like, this is the year I got to prove it all. And this is the schedule we got.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he would say the same this year.
Yep, not at all. But I think a lot of this confidence that you had Billy with that tweet and, acting confident, a lot of it also comes from DJ Lagway. And he did his interview. He starts it off by making the joke about having a prosthetic arm.
Yeah.
Prosthetic arm.
He's like, I don't have a prosthetic arm. That's pretty funny.
But I think a lot of things that really hyped up the Gators a good bit is the first questions he was asked about like, what has he learned pre-snap and post-snap wise? And because he's had this injury for most of the offseason, so he hasn't really been throwing the ball too much and improving that wise. But his mental stuff and learning, like he talked about it, that in high school, he had never seen zone coverages. But now coming to Florida and big-time SEC, it's higher levels of talent, more sophisticated styles of defense. And he said, yeah, it's been a learning curve, but that's something that he's been learning a lot about during this injury and during this offseason to help him improve, and as well as getting better at like checkdowns, doing the boring stuff, doing the easy stuff that, maybe like, oh, that's only 5 yards, but hey, that 5 yards could be the difference in a 3rd and 10 and a 3rd and 5.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is, I think what pretty much everyone would agree is the area where Lagway needs to improve the most. Like, I don't think it's necessarily going to be a super negatively impactful thing that he wasn't throwing all offseason. I mean, I think in terms of talent, I mean, obviously you would like the chemistry with newcomers, with the freshmen and Sturdivant, but like, I think, you trust the arm talent there. Like, I think he showed what he's capable of, but yeah, I think it's the pre-snap stuff, the little things, we know he wants to look down the field, but maybe you do take the check down sometimes because it's just the safer thing and you can get, take the 7 yards and keep going. I think those are the little areas where, his efficiency wasn't great last year, sub 60 completion percentage, not a great touchdown interception ratio. I think if those things are going to improve, which they're going to have to, if he's going to be the quarterback that I think most people expect him to be, it is the mental side of things where that's going to have to improve. So, I mean, I think that thing about that high school anecdote, like that makes a ton of sense to me, just the level of high school he was playing at, those guys, like, I think that checks out too with a lot of the mistakes we saw DJ make last year. It was kind of just, just not being able to predict where a defender was going to be, like missing a guy. I think that all kind of checks out with just a guy who needed to get used to the speed and just the coverages that you're going to get in against SEC defenses. So I think all that's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah. Another thing he said, he was asked, what is his like best attribute outside of like his actual, from leadership? What's his best attribute as a quarterback? And, he's kind of said his leadership with his answer. He says, this is just natural aura and being ready with having confidence for the game. And he even says, and I quote, my teammates always joke around about it, about like how they say that I'm a totally different person on game day. And something that also kind of came out to me was that Jake Slaughter was also at SEC Media Days, and they asked him about when Lagway first came on. I'm pretty sure it was when Mertz got injured against Tennessee. And Slaughter said that Lagway came out and gave the offensive speech that he's not gonna say. So I kind of think that goes towards his leadership ability and maybe being a different person on game day than who he is at a regular time.
Yeah, I mean, at least, obviously I'm not in the locker room, but I think just from an outside looking in perspective, I think that is very clearly like a strength of Lagway, in terms of his intangibles right off the bat coming in. Like, I think very vocal leader, very comfortable in a leadership position. And I think you saw that. I mean, I think, aura is a really funny answer to give to that question, and it's not quantifiable, but like, I think there's something to it because I mean, you saw the way the team rallied around him last year. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence. And this isn't saying anything. I'm not saying this to, be down on Graham Mertz's leadership abilities or anything like that. But like, I don't think it's a coincidence that the team as a whole started playing its best ball when Lagway came in. And I think this team really rallied around him. You think it's a coincidence?
Well, I don't know, like, coincidence. I mean, I think Mertz was a really good leader and the team has really rallied behind him. And I mean, look at the start of the season. I mean, I don't think if you put Lagway out there, I think the team's a little bit better because, Lagway's deep ball threat is still going to be there. But I don't think the defense is playing better against Miami. I don't think the defense is playing better against A&M. Because we talked about it, and, the players have said it, that bye week after the Mississippi State game is where everything really came together. And you go look at UCF, like, final score of 24 to 13 isn't something that you're going to look at box score wise and be like, oh, okay. I mean, you won, but like it was 11-point win. But like we were up 24-3. And I mean, Billy kind of just takes his foot off the gas and runs out games like that. So it's like we really dominated them. And, Mertz was clicking on offense and the defense started to click. And then you had that Tennessee game. That's where Mertz gets hurt. I mean, Mertz had us up 10-0 until he got hurt. And Lagway, I mean, we had some good drives with Lagway and some good drives with Mertz and some play calling or other coaching related issues that happened that kept us being up more in that game. But I don't think the team particularly played worse when Mertz was in there in that game versus when Lagway was in there. And then, Kentucky, like that's when you got Lagway being able to throw it deep and Georgia until he gets hurt. I mean, heck, against Georgia, the team was still able to have it tied with 5 minutes left with Aiden Warner.
Yeah, I mean, that's all true. Like, I'm not arguing that, and I think that's a fair point. I guess what I would just say is that the context and the point in which it happened in the season, like, that was really a point where, in that Tennessee game on the road, obviously ended up losing it anyway, but, the season from that point really could have started to spiral. I mean, that's where if you're going to see team finish 4-8, 5-7, whatever, like that's where it was going to probably take that turn. So I think Lagway coming in just and playing the way he did, and I think obviously the work he did beforehand, because I mean, I don't think the respect that he had in the locker room started when he came in that Tennessee game. I think that gave the team reason to keep fighting in what was by all, metrics coming into the year a lost season. I had already lost 4 games at that point after the Tennessee game, right?
No, the 3. Tennessee game was our 3rd loss.
3rd. Yeah, sorry. 3. So, yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. That's kind of what I would just say is I think that Lagway coming in and showing what he was capable of doing gave the team belief in the rest of this season and what was to come. Because I mean, I think if Lagway had come in and had freshman struggles after losing your quarterback in Mertz, I think, I think we would have had a very different story to end last season.
Yeah, but I also think you go look back at 2023. We started 5-2 going to that Georgia game, a little bit of momentum off that South Carolina win, but then you go and lose to Georgia, really in a blowout, and then you go back home and lose to Arkansas, and really that's probably where you're thinking the seasons go downhill. And then Jaden Daniels goes and puts a Superman effort and beats you guys, puts up 52 on you, and really you would think with their last 2 games being against top 5 teams that you'd probably just get blown out in those games. Well, you go to Missouri. And you should have won that game. I mean, you gave up a 4th and 17.
Yeah.
Right after Mertz gets hurt, Max Brown comes in on a drive like you're inside the 30 and he fumbles the ball when you're up in that game too. So it's like you really should have won that game. And if Mertz didn't get hurt, you probably do win that game. And then this FSU game as well, you lead for like 2.5 quarters of that game. And then FSU manages to pull it out. I mean, obviously Jordan Travis got hurt. So who knows what the real scenario is. I mean, if Mertz is playing in that game and Travis is, I mean, I think it would still have been a close game, but you have both of them out and it still was a close game. So I think Mertz still has really good leadership ability. And, it's also part of Napier just not losing the locker room. And we saw it back-to-back years where they still kept fighting even though their record was pretty bad and had some losses that you really don't want to look back on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. And we're kind of getting off on a tangent here. I wasn't saying, the point I'm more making is just to show like Lagway's early leadership and the the pull he has in the locker room. But I mean, again, like, almost beating, a good Missouri team, and then, playing tough against an FSU team that, like, we saw what FSU without Jordan Travis was, like we learned. I think that's a lot different than winning, 4 in a row, beating 3 ranked teams to end the year. Like, I think what they accomplished at the end of last season is like, that's to me another level. Like, that's beyond playing hard for your coach. That's finding a new level, inside of you. You're playing at a level you haven't been able to play at all season.
That's fair. So Caleb Banks, Caleb Banks was asked, what's the coaching message for this year? And just simply put, spot the ball. So continuing with that confidence. I think something else interesting that was asked, one of Florida's biggest questions heading into this year is our depth at defensive tackle. Obviously, he's going to be a starting defensive tackle, a projected first-round pick, maybe even top 10 pick by some. He was asked about, how do you feel about the depth and the players you have behind him? And he was saying that he thinks we have a lot more guys there than people realize. And he also mentioned that if he has some players that mature, and specifically mentioned Tavares Brown, a former JUCO. Let me pull up his exact size. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's like 6'7" and over 300 pounds. Tavares Brown. Is he on Florida's roster? He should be. Well, ESPN has him listed at 6'7", 290, but that was last year, so he's probably over 300 pounds right now. So a massive human being. And I mean, I don't know what he means by mature, whether that's off the field, on the field, probably a little bit of both, if we're being honest. But I mean, if he's talking about Brown as someone who just needs to mature a bit more, maybe he's someone that we're underlooking at this moment. That, I mean, there's good reason to underlook him, but maybe he's someone that could really show out and break out this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've both said that the other defensive tackle spot next to Banks is probably the biggest question mark on the team, because like, we really don't know anything about, I mean, we kind of assume it's going to be Jamari Lyons there, but we don't really know much about any of these guys. I mean, but I don't think we've ever said that we're concerned about it because we don't think there's talent there. I think it's just not, it hasn't shown itself on the field yet. So, I mean, that's obviously encouraging. Like, if it were a situation where we knew the incumbent starter and it was a player we didn't feel good about, that would be a different story with Banks saying this. It'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it is a little interesting because I think, we assume it's going to be a weakness, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case, because, if someone like Lyons is good, or Tavares Brown is, takes a step, like, we might be looking at it as like a totally fine position.
Yep. Something else Caleb Banks was asked. He was asked about the offensive line and who are some of the guys that, or I think Jake Slaughter was actually asked about this, sorry. But who is someone that's not projected to start, that's someone who's on the bench right now that is kind of a bit underrated, underlooked at? I mean, he mentions Roger Kearney, another person to mention Roger Kearney, and he's backing up 2 really good offensive guards in Damian George and Kajaya Harris. So him being on the bench may not even be a signify how good he really is. And I know I've heard from people and said that, hey, they wouldn't be surprised if he's taking significant minutes away from a Harris or a George. So I think it's really good that we're able to talk about our depth as good as our starters. I mean, heck, a couple of years ago, before Napier came here, we probably would have mentioned our depth as good as our starters, but our starters weren't that good.
Yeah. Yeah, and offensive line depth is a really hard thing to find. It's hard to keep good offensive linemen around as depth. So, I mean, that I think goes to show how that position group is in a position that, I mean, definitely the best position it's been in under Napier. I mean, that goes without saying, but I mean, probably the best position it's been in since, I mean, maybe pre-McElwain, honestly, if I'm being honest here. So, I think, you haven't known if you could survive an injury along the offensive line. Obviously, we don't want to see that happen, but, we assume this is going to be a huge strength. Well, I think now, hearing that, maybe you can withstand an injury, particularly on the interior, or, something.
Yeah, it's real nice to hear. Anything else you want to say about SEC Media Days? that comes to mind? Maybe I'm forgetting something.
No, I mean, there wasn't really anything. Was that?
Gators ended up having 8 players on the All-SEC team. And the ones that really interest me. So our first team, we had our 2 offensive linemen in the first team, and Barber and Slaughter. So we mentioned our depth, but we still have that top-tier talent. The thing that intrigues me is the first team D-line. So they have Kristen Miller, the nose tackle for Georgia. Then they have Colin Simmons, the edge rusher for Texas. They have Dylan Stewart, the edge rusher for South Carolina. Then they also have Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher for Auburn.
Okay, so you noticed this too. I saw that and I was like, wait, yeah, I was like, is this not like all edge rushers on this all first team defensive line?
Yep. So besides Kristen Miller, it was 3 of the 4 were edge rushers. And the real intriguing thing there is Caleb Banks, who is a defensive tackle, was second team. So he easily could have been there as a first team All-SEC player if they kept to how the defense actually plays. Because on the offensive line, they had 2 tackles, 2 guards, and a center. So I feel like it would have been too difficult to put Banks up one. And, maybe if you have on the second or third 3 edge rushers or something like that, I feel like that's more acceptable because, you're not going to focus too much on that. But the first team, I feel like you had to actually get that out there and doing a pretty good job at it.
Yeah, that was a bizarre choice. I was like, am I mistaken? I was like, am I wrong about maybe Keldrick Falk plays inside more than I realized? But nope. They just put all 3 out of 4 edge rushers on the first team defensive line.
And now I'm actually looking at the second team. Let me check this real quick. I'm pretty sure. So I'm pretty sure. So they have Caleb Banks, who's defensive tackle. Tim Keenan at Bama, who I'm pretty sure is a defensive tackle. LT Overton, who's a defensive end. And R. Macy, who's also a defensive tackle. So they easily could have moved one of those defensive tackles or even the defensive end up to the first team and brought down one of the edge rushers for it to make that much more sense.
That's a weird choice. Defensive tackle erasure. We won't stand for it.
No. Also, Harold Perkins on the second team, all SEC team at linebacker, when we don't know if he's even going to be starting for LSU, or for 2, if he's going to be starting as nickel, or if he's going to be starting at linebacker, or where he's going to be playing, if he's even starting for LSU. So I think that's a real interesting choice there.
And where's his health at? He missed coming off an injury. You know what I mean? So it's just I'm not saying he can't be that good, but with all the question marks, that was a strange decision.
Yeah. The rest of our SEC team players, Trace Mack was the second team place kicker and just regular kicker. Tyreek Sapp is he third team? Third team defensive line. Do we have anyone else on the second team? No. Then third team offense. I thought we had Trey Wilson. Am I crazy? I could have sworn Trey Wilson was one of these all SEC players. But I'm not seeing him now.
Pulling it up right.
And I thought Ball was too. Or was he second team?
Yeah, Trey Wilson's not on there. Sapp was third team.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't see any others. Do you mention Rocco Underwood, the long snapper?
Not yet. No.
Sorry.
Bad. Here it is. Okay. So third team.
As all purpose. Okay.
Yep. Both Ball and Wilson were all purpose. So does all purpose just mean returner and what they do in offense, or?
Yeah, I think all purpose is just saying all like you might not be all SEC at any specific thing, but all told, your contributions across the field will be all SEC caliber. I that's what I take all purpose to mean.
Yeah. And I think that's actually a perfect spot for Trey Wilson. I mean, Ball is a little bit interesting as a running back, but Trey, more of a gadget player. As of now, we're hoping he takes the next step to be a true receiver, in that DK role. But I think that's a really good spot for him. And who's above Ball? Let me see.
For running backs, you mean?
So Jam Miller and Nate Frazier, I don't think either of them should be above Ball on the third team. Caden Durham and Jaden Ott. I mean, I think you put Ball above Durham, based on what they did last year, and I think what I expect from him this year. I feel like you put Ball above Durham.
I think both the first team guys are understandable, and I think Jaden Ott's understandable. Yep. I think beyond that, you have a pretty strong argument that Bosch should be up there.
Especially the third team. Like, what did Jam Miller even do last year? Maybe I'm underrating him a bit, but like, I feel like their running back. I mean, went for 145, 668 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4.5 average. I mean, Ball did better than that on an average basis, and like, Ball was also in a 3-man rotation for most of the year, like, depending on the time. So I don't really understand that, but I guess that's whatever. Yeah, Michael, what's up, fellas? Different kind of serious vibe. We're gonna chomp them all this year. I mean, yeah, that's the vibe around here. I think there's something to the basketball team winning that natty and putting a lot of hype around in Gainesville and around the media in Gainesville and having maybe the most exciting player in all of college football at QB for us. So I think it's a really good thing that there's all this momentum here, and hopefully Billy can keep it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's hype. I think there's also, there's pressure, there's expectation. So I think it's just a very business-like approach this offseason. I think everyone knows the opportunity here this year, and then also just the importance of taking advantage of it.
I believe I mentioned it earlier that we were finished sixth. I did mention earlier.
Yeah, you did.
That we were finished sixth in the SEC. So
a little higher than I was expecting.
Yeah, you messaged me right as it came out, or I messaged you. I can't remember, and you were a bit shocked by that. But it's nice to have that. But we're gonna prove them wrong and finish a bit higher than what they expect. Yeah, right here, good comment. So many good players that are just gonna get better. Like Dijon Johnson, I think he was a good player. If he gets a little bit better, and if Devin Moore can stay healthy, then your corner room, we go from maybe having a bit worry about it to feeling really good about it. And Jordan Castell and Bryce Thornton, I think they're good safeties. If one or both of them could take another step, then, you're feeling really good about that receiver room. And the entire receiver room is like that right now. So I think if we continue to see player progression that we've seen under Napier in his tenure here, I think I think you look at players continuing to get better. Like, I mean, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but I feel like we see players every year getting better and better. And this is the first year where we're having a lot of retention among good players.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of positions where maybe you could argue that's not the case, like tight end or whatever. But yeah, I think for the most part, the trend on this team has been good development, good progression year to year from the guys.
Yep. If you guys are enjoying the show, make sure you leave a like on it, comment on the show as well, ask any questions. We'll try to see if maybe you guys have any really good ideas for us to talk about on another show. I think that's pretty fun. And subscribe to the channel. We will be right back after this word from Mark Rogers.
You can make a difference here at the Voice of College Football. Use the Amazon link. Financially contribute to the Voice of College Football without spending a penny. Same shopping experience. It's easy. Go to any video on any channel. Go to the description section and grab the link right next to the capital letters that say Amazon. Use that link, and Amazon will instantaneously convert to your account, settings, history, everything intact, just like whatever link you use right now. No difference. Pay no attention to the product that you see right there. Just go search what you want. Don't forget the Amazon link. Thank you for your support. Sincerely, the Voice of College Football.
Welcome back to the show. So, recruiting in the 2026 class is dying down a little bit as you start getting into the season, and we become closer and closer, 4.5 months or whatever it is, until we get to National Signing Day. And then everything's going to get hectic. Players are going to be flipping, and hopefully more towards us like we saw last year. But now it's time to start talking about who can the Gators QB commit in the class of 2027 be. So it's really early to talk about it, as still 4.5 months until the 2026 class signs. But the quarterback is a position that you're usually going to sign a year get to commit a year in advance. You go look back at DJ Lagway, he committed in early December of 2023.
Yeah, that sounds right.
2022. After year one, I'm pretty sure he committed, right?
No, I think he committed Rashada had already signed, right? When he that was after Rashada signed, that whole deal went. I think that was in 2023. Am I wrong?
I'm pretty sure. Wait, hold up.
Oh, wait, no, sorry. Yes. Here. Sorry, no, you're right. You're right. Because
December 20th, 2023.
Yeah, December 23? Okay.
Oh wait, no, sorry. That's when he that's when he signed.
We'll never figure this out. No, it had to have
December
been
7th, 2022.
Yeah, okay.
So you got DJ Lagway to commit over nearly a year in advance. So when he actually ends up signing with the Gators, we had Will Griffin commit in the June of 2024. So that's going to be a year and a half before he ends up signing. So I don't think it's ridiculous to talk about who can the Gators QB commit in the class of 2027B. Now, you look at our previous 2 cycles. So we got Tramel Jones, top 250 guy, solid QB commit. Now we have Will Griffin, also a top 250 guy. Born Gator, feels like someone who we were going to land no matter what. But you don't have that elite name like you had with DJ Lagway. Well, I think a big part of that is you're paying DJ Lagway money. Mm-hmm. Can we afford, as of this moment, to pay another QB as highly rated as Lagway was? I think that's why you've seen us taking 2 guys that, we can still develop, and maybe their depth, or maybe one of them ends up breaking out and being a better player than their ranking would suggest. So that's a good thing. But in this 2027 class, you're probably not going to be paying DJ Lagways. I would expect him to be 3 years and done and going to the NFL.
Yeah.
So who are all the eyes on? I think there's 2 players to look at. One is 4-star QB out of Flower Mound, Texas, Colton Nussmeier. Obviously, the younger brother and son, Doug Nussmeier, and young brother of Garrett Nussmeier. I think maybe we're less looking at him, but the guy I think we really should be looking at is 5-star QB, number 1 QB in the country. He is ranked, hold up, I have it right here, ranked number 15 on the Rivals industry ranking. Took me a second to think of that, but ranked number 15, top 15 player, 5-star, out of Dunham School in Baton Rouge. So, I mean, I know you're going to hear Baton Rouge and being from Louisiana and probably think he's an LSU lock. Well, some things that may soothe your mind, ease your mind, is the fact that he is originally from Georgia. So he's not one of these Louisiana kids who their family has been here for generations, and you always see, that's why you see Louisiana kids end up staying home more often than you see in a bunch of other states. So I think there is more room for Elijah Haven to end up traversing the country instead of just staying in Louisiana. I know LSU is a big factor as recruitment, Ohio State, but he's mentioned Florida as one of his top schools and teams that are really pressuring him the most as of this time to try to land his commitment. And he said he plans on committing later this year, maybe sometime in the fall. He has planned to try to get to the Florida-Texas game, which would, Gators' big-time environment, one of the biggest games in the swamp in a long time. And hopefully we've at least beaten one of LSU or Miami, if not both. So we have that high ranking, and Gator fans aren't really down going into that game. But, you're going to have that crazy environment and a number 1 rated QB in the country in that class. Like, that's something that the students are going to buy into for going into that game. Maybe he also goes to the Florida LSU game. So if you walk into Death Valley and pull out a win there, that's something that might also stay in his mind.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously it's still a little early for him, so we'll see what happens. Like, obviously, hope you get him on campus for a couple games this year if you can. With Haven, you said ranked 15 in the Rivals. He's actually ranked even higher on the 247 composite, sitting at number 12. And on 247's own rankings, he's the number 1 overall player in the country. So, really highly rated guy here. And I mean, I think that the point you touched on is pretty important. Like, when I first heard that Florida was going after this guy, I heard it and it was like, oh, Baton Rouge native quarterback. Like, yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, we'll see. I wonder where he's going to go. But yeah, it really does seem like, obviously, like you said, not originally from there. And just from everything we're hearing, it sounds like this is by no means like an LSU or, LSU's the clear team to beat recruitment. It seems pretty wide open here. And, obviously seems like Florida's making him a priority. And he certainly feels that way. So obviously you just kind of want to see what happens in the fall because his commitment probably, if he follows the DJ Lagway trajectory, could be coming, towards the end or shortly after his senior season. So, his junior season. Mm-hmm. So, I think you got to get him on campus this fall. That's obviously the key, and hopefully that happens. But, early here, but I think really, really talented player, and it seems like Florida's a real player in the race for him.
And yeah, I think another key factor to look at with him being from Louisiana, I mentioned earlier Colton Nussmeier. I mean, obvious reasons, especially if Brian Kelly is still at LSU, for them to go after him as their main QB. He's ranked number 84 on the Rivals initial ranking, so still a top 100 guy, and it would make a lot of sense. But they also have two other players from Louisiana, Peyton Hudson, who's ranked at 94, so another top 100 QB, and there's another one, Malachi Ziegler, who's ranked 172, a little bit lower, but it's still early on. I mean, someone 172 could easily finish as a 5-star, and a 5-star could easily finish a lot lower in the rankings. But, I mean, we saw it with Lagway. He was ranked as a top 30 5-star-ish player for a long time. And if Billy Napier has identified him as their number one QB target, then I think this is a guy who's probably going to stay pretty highly ranked for the year and a half to come until he would eventually sign with whoever he does sign with.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the interest he's getting across the board would kind of indicate that as well. This seems like the premier quarterback prospect in this class. This is the Bryce Underwood or whatever, if you will, of the 2027 class. So, Florida kind of got that guy with Lagway a couple years ago. We've seen how it's worked out so far. And hopefully between now and his commitment, we'll have a little bit even more proof of concept with DJ Lagway.
And, just get right here. Michael's saying we are getting some good recruits now. When we start winning in 26 and 27, we will be having some serious dudes. And right after, believe it or not, a lot of players want a culture, and we are building that. I think it's worth mentioning the winning part, because winning games is how you prove to your boosters that they should invest more in. We keep winning. Boosters will keep delivering us a bit more money. And obviously, we went and bought DJ Lagway, and they're willing to put the same money into what they put into Lagway. Then we're probably going to be able to put in a lot of money in to go and get Elijah Haven in that 2027 class, whether we are winning a lot or not. But yeah, winning games especially does help you prove to recruits that you can be a serious national title contender, because a lot of these 5-star guys, they want to win football games, competitive folks. And sorry, some other noise happening. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah, if you can prove to them that you can do it, then they're going to come to you. And if you have the money, they're especially going to want to come play for you.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're, an Oregon or like a Texas Tech, with the money they've got coming in, like right now, it doesn't, if you're not winning, ultimately there's kind of a level of recruiting you're not going to have access to. I think Florida is recruiting pretty high, like pretty close to a ceiling, like outside of that level. I think winning is what it's going to take to get to that elite recruiting level. And I think if Billy sticks around, if the Lagway era becomes what we think it can be, and get a playoff appearance here in the next year or two, maybe make a little run. I think at that point, I think you'll start to really see the recruiting results turn around. I mean, we just saw what good a 4-game winning streak to end the season can do for recruiting. We saw that last year.
Yeah, and something interesting. It kind of a little bit not irrelevant, but a little less relevant to this specific topic. I'm looking at these QB rankings, and 5 of the top 6 QBs in the class of 2027 are from the South. Haven from Louisiana, number 2, Kavian Bryant from Texas, J.C. Johnson from Georgia. Then you have one kid from California who's already committed to Ohio State. And then Gunnar Rivers at number 5, the son of Phillip Rivers from Alabama. And Colton Nussmeier right there at 6 from Texas. So a lot of QBs in the South, and I think that's a good thing for Florida to have. And it's real interesting looking at Gunnar Rivers there.
Yeah, I was about to say Rivers having a kid that's about to go be playing college football is crazy. And what's even crazier is there's just going to be like 7 of these every 2 years for the next decade and a half. So buckle up.
Yeah, it's going to get real interesting. And you know what? The funniest option here is if they all go to NC State.
Yeah. Just NC State just as like a 15-year quarterback dynasty of Phillip Rivers' offspring. That would be awesome.
One of them might not be a quarterback. One of them might be like a slot receiver.
That would be even better if they're like you have like an all Rivers offense. Like one's a running back, one's a quarterback, one's a receiver. That'd be sick, dude.
It would really be awesome. Yeah, I mean, also Rob Napier needs to have success with Lagway to have a chance with Haven. Didn't even mention this. I think you already have a really good floor with Lagway. I think if you get what you saw last year, now obviously you look at the 12-9 touchdown to interception ratio, it's like, oh, that's pretty bad. But I think that's a little bit skewed towards he had more interceptions than he even had turnover-worthy plays. He also had so many touchdowns where the receivers were tackled inside the 5. Like Lagway probably could have had 5 or 6 more touchdowns if receivers had a little bit more speed or balance. I mean, especially Elijah Badger. Do you remember how many times where he would just like slip up after catching the ball or get tackled and not have enough speed inside the 5?
Yeah, go, like make an unnecessary move. Yeah.
And I think they're going to have I think especially J. Michael Sturdivant, like some of these taller, quick receivers, if they're beating their man and getting those open deep balls that are going to be more consistent with their strides, I think you're going to have a lot less of those being tackled inside the 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's certainly the hope. I mean, what I'll say with Lagway is I think, I think Billy needs to have, I think Gators need to be successful this year, obviously. And I think if we're looking at Lagway the way we kind of expect to be, in January, which is as an elite quarterback prospect going into his junior season, elite NFL draft prospect going into his junior season, I think that's kind of what you're looking for if you're trying to make that sell to Haven. Because I mean, we know Lagway can win games. We know he's got the talent, but I think seeing him develop into an NFL quarterback, I think that's what would be, I think really push that selling point to Elijah Haven.
Yeah, so we want to talk a little bit more about the Gators QB room going to the future, especially after Lagway. So we expect to have Lagway until after the 2026 season. Hopefully had a bunch of success. Let's say we sign Elijah Haven.
Yeah.
Well, then you're going to have your 2 QBs I mentioned earlier in Tramel Jones and Will Griffin. And, of course, Adam Warner is going to be the projected starter going into that year. I'm just kidding. I hope so, but I think I'm kidding. I really like Tramel Jones. I know he had a leg injury or he had some injury his senior year. I think he could have been a bit higher in the rankings, and I've watched a bit more of him. Like, he's not I don't think he's going to be some all-American level QB as a first-round pick, but I think with the talent we've recruited at receiver and our offensive line development, how it's been, and RB development, like with the talent around him, I expect that he can be a good QB that can distribute the ball and make some of those tougher throws down the field. Maybe not as mobile as you would expect for a shorter guy, but I think he's someone who could be a solid QB. And Will Griffin still has his whole senior year to play and develop and get on campus. So don't want to count him out at all in this situation, especially someone who has been as loyal as he has to the Gators. But I don't think as of this moment or even a year from now, we're going to be looking at either of those guys as like, oh, we know after Lagway is gone, they're going to be the starter. Especially if you go bring in Elijah Haven, who was a 5-star number 1 QB in his class. We'll see where he ends up finishing in the rankings. But you bring in him, another thing that could be attractive towards him is the fact that he could start year 1. And you go look at DJ Lagway, he was sitting behind the bench on Mertz, but injuries happened. And Lagway was still playing even when Mertz wasn't injured. Like Lagway was getting every third drive, and that's something that could be really good towards a QB's development. And it could be something that shouts to Elijah Haven as, hey, I could play early, and I know Billy isn't going to rush me in there if he doesn't need to. So I think that's something that could also help us land him, but it's also something that could be interesting for a QB battle heading into that 2027 season.
Yeah, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself in terms of like trying to predict all the little moving pieces that are going to happen, but I think, looking at Tramel Jones and Will Griffin, I think what you said is pretty key, that like, while they're both, talented players that have potential that could develop into good SEC quarterbacks, neither of them is like the clear, obvious Lagway successor.
Yep.
So, they're both kind of more project guys that, I mean, obviously maybe Will Griffin has a fantastic senior season and we view him a little bit less so as a project guy, in a few months, but for now, that's kind of how he projects in terms of his recruiting ranking. So I think, if I had to guess, if you were to secure a commitment from Haven in the next 6 months at some point, I would think at that point, like I would think one of those Tramel Jones and Will Griffin would probably have moved on going into the 2027 season. And then you would expect whoever stuck around to be competing with Haven, and that's your quarterback battle, maybe with another transfer at that point, going into 2027.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Notre Dame right now, I think could be a similar example where after their season losing Riley Leonard, they have 3 QBs, and Steven Jevley ended up transferring during the spring portal, going to Syracuse, and they expected to start for them. But they were able to convince the other guy to still be there. And I mean, I think they're still calling it a QB battle, but everyone expects CJ Carr to win it and for him to end up starting for Notre Dame this year. And if you could do that, I mean, maybe Haven does win it out as a freshman. I mean, honestly, I haven't watched too much of him. I'm just going based on what the offers and what the rankings say at this moment. So if he's as good as the rankings would suggest, then he's definitely someone that could play early on in his career. But if you can be in a spot where going into that spring of the 2027 season, where you have 2 experienced QBs who maybe one of them or both of them are still good QBs, and then you bring in that all-elite freshman 5-star quarterback, I think you could be in a really good spot, and feel like it'll be a pretty tough chance that we end up having poor QB play.
Yeah, I think you'd give yourself like a pretty good chance of finding someone who's serviceable at that point. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just have to see, because I think it's not there's not like a clear pathway, but like we've seen true freshmen can play in the SEC. Like I don't think you would want to put that on Elijah Haven, but at the same time, obviously Lagway did it last year. I shouldn't say in the SEC, just in high level college football, because I was going to say, we kind of seems like Bryce Underwood's going to do it this year. Even if he doesn't win that job week 1, I think, I mean, I don't know about you, I'd be pretty surprised.
I'm pretty sure he's expected to win it.
Is he? Okay, I hadn't heard if there was but I'm saying even if he doesn't, even if Mikey Keene starts the first game, it's like, I think I'd be willing to bet Bryce Underwood start in the last game. So yeah,
I think that's a safe bet. Pending injuries with the
obviously. But so, I think Haven right now, based on the way he's ranked and the interest he's getting, he kind of projects to be among that kind of caliber of prospect. So I don't think it's unthinkable. Yeah, Chris Leak, Michael's right. Chris Leak did start as a true freshman.
This out.
Sorry.
Rob, by success, I mean Heisman candidate and possible top 2 pick in the draft. I mean, that's the thing to look at with Lagway is like, if we're getting what we think we can get in Lagway, he's going to be someone that could go to New York twice and maybe win it. And I'd expect at this point that he's going to be a first-round draft pick. Yeah. We're obviously a long ways away, but Anthony Richardson with his tools was a first-round draft pick. And Lagway's a little bit less mobile, but I think he's a more solid or QB than what AR was. So I think Lagway we're looking at as a very solid, highly touted NFL draft pick at this time. And then, Michael here, look what he did with Mertz and now Lagway. I think something that people forget, and, people make fun of Mertz still now, especially because Lagway comes in and we start winning, but Mertz at Wisconsin was a QB that nobody wanted. Like, he was kind of like a laughingstock, a joke of college football, kind of like what Bo Nix was until he went to Oregon. But then Billy takes Mertz and he's expected to start, and I remember I was upset about it. So many people were upset about it. But, Mertz doesn't come here and become an All-American top-tier QB, but he goes from someone who was like a turnover machine to a solid, steady game manager type of quarterback who ended up getting drafted in the 6th or 5th round of the NFL draft, and I think was better than what most people could have done with him or what people would have projected him to be here at Florida. And now, Lagway, especially if he's able to go out there and become that all league type of quarterback that we think he is and gets drafted really high. And I mean, I don't put too much into it, and I don't know how much the coaching staff sells on it or how much players will take it, but he also had Anthony Richardson drafted as a top 5 player in the draft. So, I mean, I don't know if recruits will really look at that as anything, but they might. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I mean, Tyler Shuck was 8 picks away from being a first-round pick this past year at age 25.
Oh, my God. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, even if Lagway is, like, disappointing these next 2 years, he has a good chance of being a first-round pick due to straight-up talent,
Yeah, he's just that type of athlete and that type of player, and he has the correct mindset to do everything right here. Michael here. I mean, I can't freaking wait. Lagway 10 times better than AR. Sorry, guys. I'm just so pumped. I mean, hey, we're all pumped here, and we're inching closer and closer to the season. But I think to answer what this question is and what this video is, can Florida land 5-star QB Elijah Haven? I think we definitely can. And you can say that, hey, we've lost a lot of 5-stars because of the money battle. But I think you look at the fact that we got Lagway and we're paying him a lot of money. And if Lagway turns out to be what we think he's going to be, he's going to bring in more money for us to recruit with. So I think there's a good chance that we could land Haven if, things go the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make a prediction right now just because it's way too early and there's a lot that still needs to happen. But I mean, I think is Florida in a position? Florida put itself in a position to land him? Like, yeah, absolutely. And now the ball is in their court to have the season that they're expected to have, continue to develop DJ Lagway, and obviously get him on campus and continue to push him.
Yeah, I think something's interesting. I mean, you may think we're talking about Haven too early, and we should wait to see how he is if he gets on campus for a game. This is how we were talking about DJ Lagway this time in 2022. And I mean, you may say, oh no, because he didn't commit until December, that it was much later. I remember I went to the Florida-Texas A&M game in 2022 at College Station, and my dad and I, we were talking about going to Lagway's high school game because it was like 30 minutes away from College Station, 45 minutes away from College Station, like 30 minutes away from where we were staying at. We were legitimately talking about going to Lagway's game at Willis because of how hyped of a prospect he was and how high the Gators were on his board and everything. But we didn't end up going, so I'm pretty sure it was raining that night. And we had a long drive that Friday from Florida to Texas. So we ended up not going. But we were legitimately planning on it if it wasn't for that weather.
Yeah. No, I remember that too. I mean, I remember talking about Lagway before Rashada even committed. Like, I remember we were looking ahead to this class, to Lagway in the 24 class for a while. And again, with, if this were a linebacker, I think it would be kind of silly for us to be making this video and doing this segment, to be perfectly honest. But but it's not, because like these guys commit early. And when they commit, they're fairly, I mean, I'm not saying they don't flip, it happens, you see it, but they're usually not only pretty locked in, but then become pretty important recruiters for you to, flesh out the rest of the class.
I mean, hey, there's a linebacker in that 2027 class, Caden Henderson, top number 26. Like, he's not a 5-star by the technical point terms, but number 26 is basically a 5-star at this point. Out of Jesuit High School, teammates with Will Griffin going into his senior year. Maybe we can talk about him as a 5-star linebacker right here in our backyard and everything. But no, of course, we're not going to make a video about that. And like, unless there's legitimate, there's legit buzz. We're not recruiting it, but like, unless someone comes up here soon. But we're only going to make this type of video at this point for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And especially one with as high of a ceiling and as high of potential as a 5-star in Elijah Haven.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. Yeah, you mentioned linebacker, and that's pretty funny because I was like, yeah, we have a 5-star guy, right? Teammates with Will Griffin and Jesuit. I mean, do players from Jesuit ranked highly ever not go to Florida?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you one off the top of my head that hasn't. It feels like they all do.
I mean, I don't know how many highly ranked players Jesuit actually has every year, but
can't be. I don't think it's a ton, but I don't think that's like a premier development high school program. Maybe I'm wrong. Sorry, don't get mad at me if you're a Jesuit alum, and they are.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty good if the Gators go full in on him, which I expect they would. That he ends up being here. And again, it's still really early in the recruiting cycle. He could drop 300 spots. I mean, I know FSU has a defensive line commit. I think James Carrington. Let me double check that. Who was ranked in like the 300s, who was at one point like a top 15 player in the class. And yeah, right here. So he was ranked as like one of the, maybe the top player, a .9952, which is like a top 3 player in the class back in September of 2023. And he now ranks 459. He's not even a 4-star.
Jeez.
So it's really early and things will change a lot. And I mean, I don't know why FSU is going to California to get a defensive line commit who's a 3-star, but a lot can happen. A lot will happen. And hopefully we get some of these high-ranked players in 2027.
Yeah, we'll just have to see kind of where he sits in the ranking. I think after his junior season, I think if he's still ranking this high after his junior year, I think at that point, it's pretty clear he's probably going to be staying up there among the higher rated recruits.
And remember Lagway? I mean, he was ranked as like a top 5-star player for the entire time. But from his junior year before his senior year, he was ranked as like in the 20s. He wasn't ranked as a top 10 recruit, but then he ended up being Gatorade Player of the Year his senior year and took a humongous step after that junior season and ends up becoming the number 1 QB for 3 of the 4 main sites. And actually, wait, can we check? I want to check something here. If you look at the new Rivals rankings for the old classes, which one does it give you?
Which one was the one that didn't have him number 1? Was it Rivals or On3?
It was Rivals.
Okay.
So, because can you even check that? I mean, recruiting. Okay, so they still list all 4 for previous cycles. So,
gotcha.
Because On3 had him ranked number 2, 247 had him ranked number 3, ESPN had him ranked number 1, all as the top QB in this country. But then Rivals had him ranked 28 as the 3rd best quarterback, or maybe 4th. I can't remember.
Wow, I didn't realize Rivals was that big of an outlier.
And it's the same thing that happened with LJ McRae. And 3 of the sites had him as a top 10 player. Then Rivals had him like in the 60s. That's just Rivals with their anti-Gator bias, of course.
100%. 100%.
It's a big conspiracy. You have to make a song, call us Weird Al Yankovic. All right, let me get into this real quick. Check out the Voice of College Football website. They produce all sorts of articles. They have the times listed for each show on that day. And I think you can also look at a calendar and see what the future shows will be on those specific days. But we have an article here written, DJ Lagway puts injury rumors to rest. I guess that's something we forgot to mention a bit earlier in the show. But, of course, the first things he was asked was about, we quoted him talking about he doesn't have a prosthetic arm. But he talked about how he's become more healthy and he's getting better. And I'm going to make more. So this is one of my favorite quotes. He was asked about, can he make the throws I was making last year right now? And he was asked, and he quoted, I'm actually getting better. I'm going to make more throws, but make boring throws more consistently. So I think any worries that people had about Lagway and his injury, and I don't think anyone worried he wasn't going to play this year or start the year, but if he's going to even be above like 90%, I feel like all of those worries are now like kind of down the drain. You're probably going to hear a rumor here and there like, oh, he had a setback or, oh, something happened. It was a lie. But I feel like right now, if you're talking about Lagway being injured, you're probably just trying to talk down Florida at this point.
Yeah, and I think it'll be completely put to rest in the next few days, in the next week or so, whenever they get started with camp. I don't know. I can't remember off the top of my head what day it is that they start.
Actually, it starts the 30th or 20th. It starts next Wednesday. Okay. So not this Wednesday, but I have the calendar right here. Oh, no. I don't understand why I get so many pop-ups when looking up the calendar. So it starts the 30th, and I'm pretty sure they report to media on the 29th.
Gotcha.
And another big thing that comes out of that is the roster. We're going to see what everyone's weight is at. We'll see if Cormani really is at that ready weight that he looks at. And Aaron Gates, did you see the recent picture of Aaron Gates that came out?
No, I didn't.
Oh, yeah. He's looking jacked. His question was about his injury was his ACL, I'm pretty sure. So it's being jacked, but you got to be pretty good with your feet to be able to build up your upper body strength a good bit. So
yeah,
I think his injury concerns are a little bit less, but sorry, finish talking here. I put it in the chat. You can go to vocfb.com to find the Voice of College Football website. You can sign up and get notifications. It's a really good website that has a bunch of different articles and has every stream, has breakdowns of every video if you don't want to go and watch those full things. So go check it out. Thank you. But yeah, that's something we didn't mention. The 30th fall practice starts, and they're going to go up until 10 days before, I believe, the first game, and that's when it ends. And they have a little rest, and prepare less of this game week like normal. So getting closer and closer, man. I can feel it.
Yeah, man, it really SEC media days are kind of when I know, that's when I shift gears from the summer to, okay, we're getting into the season, right? It's coming up right here. So it's starting to feel real. It's, I'll be honest, this offseason kind of felt like it flew by for me. I don't know about you. But
I feel like we say that, and I agree. But I feel like these last 41 days are going to be the longest.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Because we're actually going to be close enough that we're talking about it. Like, you can kind of put it out of sight, out of mind in like May, not as much so in late July and August.
Yeah, and I mean, there's like, I mean, we'll get clips and stuff from media days. So I mean, not from media, sorry, from fall practice, and there's going to be rumors of, oh, this guy's really looking good, or hey, this guy maybe not doing as well as we thought he would, and there's going to be another injury that pops up. Hopefully something that doesn't really affect us too much, but we'll get some stuff here and there that's just going to give us more of an inching and tasting for the football season. And I feel like the NFL preseason is like kind of this gaslighting thing, because you'd feel like it's going to be guys who are competing for rosters. I mean, I feel like I've been having some good fun watching some of the NBA Summer League stuff. And it's like, a lot of ISO ball and players playing for contracts. But I feel like the coaching in the preseason, in the NFL preseason, it kind of just is slow. And it's like, it doesn't allow for players to play with their livelihoods on the line. And it's like, oh, like, hey, I'm going to watch my Jags because they're my team. But I'm just like, okay, our third string QB is throwing a 5-yard out route on 3rd and 15. I kind of don't care.
No, the preseason like holds you hostage because it sucks. Like, the product objectively sucks, but you'll still watch it because like you're so football starved at that point that like even a fake exhibition game between borderline roster players in the NFL, you're like, please give it to me.
You know what? So I've watched one high school football game ever on TV. Can you guess what that game was?
Was it a Lagway game?
No, it wasn't. No, it was on ESPN, and it's the only high school game I've ever watched on TV. And it just so happened to be IMG versus Bishop Sycamore.
Oh, there was the Bishop Sycamore game. I forgot about that. That's hilarious.
And it's so funny because I'm pretty sure that was a Saturday morning. So I think there was some preseason stuff happening, and that was like noon or something. And you're just itching for football, and high school football season starts. I'm pretty sure like it's starting in other places like in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Like I think in Georgia it might start like next week or two. So it's like, you're gonna get some stuff, but I never watch high school football games. But like, hey, IMG, they're a powerhouse. Like, and hey, maybe I'll learn some unknown players here for Bishop Sycamore. And then they
you did learn about some unknown players for Bishop Sycamore.
Yeah. So it's just so funny because that's the only one I've ever watched on TV. And like I watched for multiple quarters. Like I've turned on some for like a minute and then just like kind of click away because it's whatever. But that game, I remember I was at my house and my dad and I were just watching it. And I remember because players were getting injured left and right, and it was a blowout. And we're like, dang, this isn't a good game at all. Michael, I see you mean Cormani, unless Carmani for how jacked he is. I don't know, but
I like that if so.
Yeah, Carmani had a pick 6 in his first game. Now he is jacked up and more developed. He'll be a beast this year. Yeah, but like it was against Kentucky, and if you mention how he did against Georgia and Texas, like I'm known as the more positive one on here, and it's like I'll be higher on players, but Cormani's probably like the one player I'm lower on than you. I feel like.
Yeah, that might even be true. But my thing with Cormani is I just don't really expect him to play a massive role unless there's injuries.
Really? So I've actually been hearing some interesting stuff. I mean, I've heard there's some rumors that he might be starting. Now, I think that rumor is mostly just because of the Dijon Johnson stuff. But like, I'm expecting him to be on that 2 deep, like maybe even the third corner, the number 1 corner off the bench.
Yeah,
so I'm expecting him to play a good amount. It's just I don't know if that good amount is going to be good enough for the SEC, or if it's good enough to actually warrant talking about him as a legitimate player on this roster, on the field.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, even if he is the first corner off the bench, which I think he might be, it's like I don't think that necessarily. Like, I don't think we're going to be like, man, Cormani was a real difference maker on this team. That I'm not even saying he's bad, or he can't ever be a difference maker. But I don't really expect like if Cormani comes out and is starting caliber and very good in the SEC, that would be the kind of unexpected development that would make me really be like, man, maybe this team actually can be like a lot better even than I'm expecting.
Is more, yeah. I mean, if Moore's healthy, if Moore's playing, he's really good. So,
Yeah.
Tyler, I'm going to ask you this. So, I did this segment like 2 weeks ago when you were on the show. I asked, like, who was the X factor? Like, if Florida gets this player to play at a high level, it could be a starter, it could be a player we're expecting to be on the bench right now. But who do you think the X factor is that could push Gators to maybe being like an average 8-4 team to maybe being a 10-win team? Like, who do you think that player would be?
My like one of my initial gut feelings was to say Castell, but I don't think safety is that. That is a good answer. I just don't know if safety is impactful enough to do that. So I'll pick a different one. I'll say, I almost want to say maybe this is cheating because he's already been proven to be pretty good, but I kind of feel like it's Trey Wilson. I feel like if you can unlock like another level of play, because we know he's good, but I think if you can get like all SEC level play from Trey Wilson, I think that could open up things in the offense that you didn't even really know like that was there with Billy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I don't know if you watch any of the stuff that Will Miles puts out. I mean, does the Read and Reaction magazine, and he's really known for being like an anti-Gator because he looks at things the way he sees it. Like, he's a Gator fan, but he's always the lowest on the Gators of like any of the Gators media. Well, this year he's actually really high on us. But, you know, he was asked this question, like, who's someone that, if they break out, you think could be the biggest difference maker for Florida? And his answer was LJ McCray. Now, I really like George Gums, and I like the guys who have to come off the edge, and I think George Gums could actually be a pretty high-level player, but there is a reason LJ McCray was a top 10 recruit on 3 sites, 3 of the 4 recruiting sites, and still top 20 on the composite. So, like, if you're getting LJ McCray to play up to that recruiting status, like many players do, then you're probably getting you're getting good play from George Gums, and you're getting maybe elite play from LJ McCray to go alongside of Caleb Banks and Tyreek Satt.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a great answer too. I guess the only thing I would say is like, I don't know if like, even if LJ McCray has a quieter year than we're hoping, I still think you might have really good pass rushing.
That's something that I was thinking.
Yeah. So
like,
but I think that's a good answer too.
When I answer the question, like my 3 immediate thoughts go to Cormani, Jordan Castell, or, you know, one of the receivers.
Yeah. Yeah. You could really plug like anyone other than Sturdivant in there, if you kind of honestly, because I think Sturdivant's the only one that we have yeah, true. That's a good answer. That's actually a really good answer. But yeah, I think looking at just the pass catchers in general, I think Sturdivant's the only one who like, I think his role and the amount of playing time he's going to get, assuming he's healthy, like seems pretty set in stone to me. I think it's pretty obvious what he's going to do, but otherwise I think it's pretty wide open.
Something a bit off the record, off the books here, you know, and not off the books. What am I saying? Off topic here. So I'm in an online dynasty in the new college football 26 game, and I'm playing with UTEP, and I got my 5-star Malachi Nelson, the former 5-star number 1 QB, is at UTEP now. So I got a good 76 overall QB for that level. Something unexpected. They have a 6'7" tight end. This is where I kind of linked in the Amir Jackson stuff. They have a 6'7" vertical threat tight end. So it's like Hayden Hansen, 6'7", but when I play with him in the Gators, he's not too much of a difference maker because he's more of a blocking tight end. This guy's like a true vertical threat. And in this game, I learned having a taller target is actually useful because you can actually high point passes and you can actually win those jump balls, which is something that in a lot of football games just doesn't happen enough of. But now you have a 6'7" tight end. I can actually use him like a 6'7" tight end. And I just thought it was really cool because it's a difference maker on the red zone and go along with Amir Jackson. Now, Amir Jackson's what, 6'4", I think?
I don't know off the top of my head.
On the roster, he's listed at, why don't they have his size? Florida Gator roster. Or ESPN. Where's ESPN at? Right there. He's listed at 6'5", 228, so still 6'5", tall enough tight end there. So it's like, if you can get that deep, that red zone threat, and you know Lagway is going to throw it in a spot where only the tall receiver can go up for it. So I think Amir Jackson could actually be a pretty big difference maker, and it's nice to have that actually be a product of the game. And same with J. Michael Sturdivant, 6'4", wide receiver, still able to go up over most corners.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's very true. I think size in the passing game makes a massive difference.
We don't talk about this too much betting on here. We talk about the odds and stuff. I mean, you could probably find your own betting sites or whatever. I don't know your age or what states you live in, so I can't really give you that information. But I recently saw, let me see if I can find them real quick, a bunch of the odds for the Florida Gators in their early season games. And if I can find them real quick, I should have them saved on my phone. I could go over some of them. Okay, I'll just try to say them from memory and see how that goes. I believe LSU was LSU minus 4.5. That checks out about right. I mean, LSU a little bit better on paper. I think you get about 3 points for the home crowd for being the home team, and then another 1.5 for LSU being slightly better on paper. So I think that checks out.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And Miami, I think, was 2.5 or 3.5, which basically just means that we're exactly the same. And it's just because it's at Miami, and I don't think Miami gets those points with an actual home field because I'm going to the game. I know a bunch of other Gator fans who are going to that game, and I mean, maybe Miami fans will show up because it's a big game, and especially if they do beat Notre Dame, then they're going to be a top 5-ish team, and they're going to be hosting an in-state rival. Maybe they do get fans that actually come and show out, but I'm expecting that crowd to be, a good majority of a good mix.
Yeah, I highly doubt it's going to be like a massive advantage for Miami.
Yeah, right here, Harvey Mathis, spot the ball, period. Gator boys stay hot. All right, so then hosting Texas, I think the spread was 7.5. Checks out, we'll see how the early season plays out. We both play some big games or big game for Texas before this, so that spread could easily go down or up a couple of points going into that game. And then the other ones I had, they didn't have Texas A&M. I believe Georgia was 8.5, neutral site, and Georgia's roster is going to be evaluated very similarly to Texas, so a little bit less on Georgia than they are on Texas, which makes sense from what I see most of the time, and I kind of agree. But I think we win that game. I'm more confident in us winning that game than I am in a couple other games on the schedule. I think so. Maybe that's just a personal bias in me, but I think I'm more confident in that than I am in A&M, who's probably going to be a couple point spread as well. Or I'm more confident than I am in my LSU pick. So I think that's something interesting. And then I believe the last one they had was the FSU game, which was us minus 13.5.
Wow. That is a little surprising to me.
Well, we're the home team, so you get that 3.5-ish point differential. And I mean, FSU just was not good last year.
No, they weren't. I don't think they're going to be a lot better this year, but I also don't think they're going to be a disaster again. I think they'll probably be mid.
Yeah, they'll probably be mid. That's what I think. That's what I have them at, mid. I have them at 5-7, I think.
I think they'll probably be more like 7-5, but I also haven't done like a game by game. I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but I'd probably just based on vibes, I'd say they have the vibe of like a 7-5 team to me.
Yeah. Mike Norvell really needs to get a bowl game here and see where they can go from there. But I mean, things could really fall off the rails for them week 1.
They could. And it's like, even if he doesn't get a bowl, I don't know if they can afford to do anything about it. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I hate that you kind of just ignored fall off the rails there, roll tide, rolling into Tallahassee and putting the brakes on FSU there in Tallahassee and everything. But, whatever. See how things go down quickly there. But I think it's time to get into our last segment here.
Yeah, I think we should do it.
Going into this prediction here, we both picked us to lose to Texas last week. Now, we left it feeling a bit more confident in the Gators, a little bit less confident in Texas maybe than more confident in the Gators, I should say. But we still will both have us losing, although I think all of these games so far are games that neither of us would be shocked if we won them.
I'm not sure there's any game on the schedule I'd be shocked if we won it.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I was trying to get at there. But
yeah,
this Texas A&M game, I have us beating LSU and Miami. You have us losing to LSU, but beating Miami and losing to Texas. This A&M game, so I said it last week, and I've said it earlier today, we were a bit underwhelmed with Texas. I think we're going to have the opposite feeling here with Texas A&M. I think you're going to be a bit more shocked, and I think I might be as well, on what this Texas A&M roster has to provide. And last year, obviously, A&M went and boat raced us 33-20, but we had like 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That game was never really in doubt for Texas A&M, but a whole new team, and we're not predicting this based on what we saw in week 3 of last season. So I know earlier you had us winning this game, I had us losing when we made our predictions a couple months ago. But how about we just get straight into it with the offense? And you're always going to start with the QB, and they returned Marcel Reed. Now, he torched us last year in the air and on the ground, but you look at his stats: 1,800 yards, 1,864 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, a 142 rating, but he also had 543 rushing yards to go alongside 7 rushing touchdowns. He didn't start every game. Weigman started the first 2 games, but after that, Weigman, I think, started like 2 more games until halftime against LSU, where Marcel Reed came in and took over for the rest of the season. And now this is his team. They do bring in a backup QB in Jacob Zenu, ton of experience at UAB. Pretty sure a couple years ago he was one of the top 5 QBs in completion percentage. So he's just like it's like an NFL type of QB that you bring in to be your backup.
Played at Baylor too. He was a starter at Baylor at one point.
That's right. Yeah, he was at Baylor. But you don't expect this guy to come in here and go light up and throw it down the field. But if Marcel Reed goes down, because mobile QBs can get hurt pretty easily, you have a solid backup in there that's not going to go out there and lose you the game.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe Jacob Zeno. I think this is obviously Marcel Reed's team. It has been Marcel Reed's team since November, I think, is when he took October. When did he take over full time for Weigman? Because Weigman was hurt, and then so he started a few games before he kind of took over full time. I think Marcel Reed is. He obviously sparked this offense last year. There's no doubt about that. Late October. Okay. He obviously sparked this offense last year. It definitely picked things up when he came in. And I think most of that is just because of what you saw in the Florida game, which is his legs, his ability to run, his ability to create, even plays in the passing game using his legs. So, I think that is encouraging, and you think you can maybe harness that to get something pretty exciting on offense. I think he did leave a bit to be desired as a passer. Not insane in terms of touchdown to interception, insane in a bad way. But not super efficient in terms of completion percentage. Didn't throw, yards per attempt, only at like 7. So he wasn't, being super explosive through the air and super efficient through the air. But I think for his first year starting, it was pretty solid. It's just, to me, what the question is, how much higher is the ceiling with him? Because I think what he did last year was serviceable. And if you get that again, it's probably enough to be a decent team, because they were a decent team last year. I'm not sure they're taking a step, though, unless he takes a major step.
Yeah, that's totally true. I'm pretty high on this A&M team, although I'm still not sold on Marcel Reed. I know Bud Elliott talked about it on his own show, the Cover 3 podcast, that he's talked to scouts and stuff and coaches, and Marcel Reed just doesn't have the next level ability to read defenses, and if he's getting confused, be able to make the right reads and everything. So I do worry about that. But I also think you look at the rest of the Texas A&M offense, and you conclude his rushing ability. You look at this running back room. It's probably one of the 3 best running back rooms in the SEC to go alongside Florida. And I think I mentioned last week, Texas. Le'Veon Moss, first team All SEC. Yeah. I'm pretty sure he finished top 5 in rushing yards in the SEC, or maybe even higher. And he missed the last month and a half of the season.
Yeah, only 765 yards in 9 games. It's pretty good.
He was on pace to get near that 1,000 yard rushing mark there to go alongside a really mobile QB. But that's not even it with this running back room, as Ruben Owens, a former 5-star or top 50, 100-ish level player, really high recruit, is also right there, who last year, I'm pretty sure he was injured last year, but they had really high hopes for him being the high recruit. And Amari Daniels ended up going for 661 yards and 8 touchdowns as well, nearly 5 yards a carry. And they also have E.J. Smith, a grad in a senior season, who went for 207 yards. And as a fourth-string running back, E.J. Smith is elite as a fourth-string running back. And I'm pretty sure his receiving game, he had more receiving yards last year. Or wait, no, that was the year prior, sorry. But he went for 66 receiving yards last year. So he provides another type of player to this offense that you don't get the other players in his receiving ability. So their running back room is as stout as it gets in the SEC. And they have the mobile QB who probably the most mobile QB in the SEC and maybe the country.
Yeah, I mean, certainly up there. I mean, I'm struggling to think of anyone off the top of my head.
Like, there's no more Milrow and no. I don't think there's anybody else here in the SEC. So, yeah, I mean, definitely the most in the SEC and maybe the country. So I think you're expecting some pretty big things from him. Tight end Amari Niblack transferred from. Oh yeah, I think Marcel Reed's a bit quicker than Sellers.
He's what? Say that one more time.
But they're up there in the same like type of category. But then, crap, go. They bring in a transfer Amari Niblack. Was he at Texas last year or Alabama? I can't remember.
He was at Texas last year via Alabama.
Okay.
But he barely he got outplayed by Gunnar Helm.
Yep, that's right. But then at Bama the year before, he went for 327 yards and 4 touchdowns. Someone that I like as a tight end. Now I don't know if I love him or how much he can step it up, but I think he's a solid tight end. And I know they have a kid from Sweden as their backup. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, but we'll call him Theo if that's his name. Went for 10 catches, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year. Pretty highly rated, from Sweden, Stockholm. Pretty highly rated recruit, someone that they probably expect to take another step into going into his junior season. Yeah. But I think the real selling point of this offense is its offensive line. It's, again, like how I mentioned, the running backs, one of the top 3. You can put them like in any order in the SEC, and to go alongside Florida again, and probably Alabama. I mean, Trey Zune was a really good left tackle for him last year. Chase Bisontis is one of the best guards in the country. Armaj Adam Reed, is he a transfer last year? Or I think he transferred the year before, if I'm not mistaken.
He was a transfer at one point. Yeah, okay. From
Kansas, and again, is also one of the best guards in the SEC. And Demetrius Kronover, really good offensive lineman. So it's like they have a really good and veteran offensive line here. Redshirt senior, junior, redshirt junior, and redshirt senior. So very experienced, very proven. A lot like Florida there with their offensive line. And you have that mobile QB and those elite running backs. I expect this running game to be really, really good for them this year.
Yeah, I mean, it should be fantastic between what Marcel Reed's able to do and the fact that you bring back, your 4 top running backs from last season. They're all still here. So, I mean, I think that room has the potential to be tremendous. I mean, I think I said in our bold predictions that Florida would have the best running back room in the SEC, or the most, lead the SEC and best rushing offense in the SEC. I think this might be your top contender right here. This might be the top competitor in that regard, because it looks like it has the potential to be really, really good with all those veterans along the offensive line and the returning production. I mean, we'll get into it with the receivers too, but this offense looks pretty loaded.
Yeah, I think they're going to lead the SEC in rushing. I think Florida will throw it a bit more. I mean, Lagway's better QB than Reed is, at least throwing the ball wise. So I think they'll end up leading the SEC in rushing, assuming Reed stays healthy. I mean, even if he doesn't, they're still going to be able to run the ball with just by handing it off really well with how this offensive line is. But then you go look at the receivers. They bring in Casey Concepcion, who I'm pretty sure was like the Triple Crown. But, in his freshman year, 71 catches, 839 yards. He also had 320 rushing yards for a total of 10 touchdowns. I'm pretty sure an All-American, all-freshman in the country his freshman season. Was really good for NC State. And last year took a step back. Now, I'm pretty sure NC State's QB, got injured, just quit playing early in this year for him. And they had, a big down year. I think it was MJ Morris.
That was the year before. They had CJ Bailey was the quarterback who emerged for them last year, who played pretty well but was a true freshman.
Yeah, so I don't know how much you can look at his decline in production as something of him getting worse, or everyone around him was also playing pretty poorly. So I'm still pretty high on Casey Concepcion. Like if he was here, I'd be really high on him. But again, it's like, is Marcel Reed gonna be able to get the ball to him at a high level?
Yeah.
And they also bring in Mario Craver from Mississippi State. Yeah. Another shorter receiver, 17 catches, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, quicker type of player there. So more quick. I think Concepcion is more of your possession receiver, and Craver is more of your slot speed receiver. And then they also have another like slot type of option, and Terry Bussey, 6 foot, someone who didn't put up any stats last year, or I think he may have done kick returns, but five-star recruit, that natural athlete, like a Trey Wilson. When you're coming in here, maybe not a true receiver, but you just get the ball in his hand, he's going to do something with it. So I look at this receiver room, and I see athleticism, I see speed, I see a controlled blanket with Casey Concepcion, and I really like it. Now, I think the question is, do you maybe have that deep threat? Like that guy that you can just throw the ball up to and they can go get it. Now, they have, I thought Isaiah, no, okay. I know Isaiah Williams, the guy they flipped from Florida a couple years ago, is only 6 foot. I thought he was like 6'4", so guess I'm mistaken there. They had Jonah Wilson, who had 9 catches for 58 yards, who's 6'3", so maybe that's the guy that ends up being 6'1". They did try to go and get, what's the 5-star receiver that transferred from Texas Tech?
Micah Hudson. I was about to bring that up if you didn't.
Yeah,
this receiver room also had a former 5-star, Micah Hudson, there last year, or in the spring, which is crazy.
And he's like 6'4", if I'm not mistaken. So that was probably their plan for their bigger type of receiver that can just go jump ball. So maybe that's the one thing you worry about this offense, if it's too much speed. And, they had the one possession receiver in Concepcion, but maybe it's not enough variety. It's just too much of one thing.
Yeah.
That could slow him down.
I think that's a really valid concern. I like the vision, though. I think it has the potential to be really exciting. Like, I think Casey Concepcion, I like that move a lot, to be honest with you. Like, I think I'm willing to bet on that being an NC State problem and not a Casey Concepcion problem, considering what he was able to do as a true freshman. Bussey, we'll see. Like, it's just kind of, the talent's there. It's just hard to know what it actually entails. And Craver had a good true freshman season at Mississippi State last year on a team that wasn't very good. So, but had, some moments on offense. So, like, I think sorry, was that?
Sorry. They did get a 5-star receiver, Jerome Miles from Utah, who's 6'3", 215. So maybe he can become that bigger body receiver that can make an impact early in day one, like we expect for Dallas Wilson.
Yeah. So, I think this receiving core's got potential, but definitely a lot of question marks. I think not like a sure thing, probably like the weakness of this offense, but I don't think that's necessarily saying a ton, because I think this is a pretty strong offense. I think the way I look at it, like, to me, there's enough pieces here. Like, this should be a good offense. I think if Marcel Reed can take a step, it might be a great one. But I think at the very least, it's going to be a very solid, well within the upper half of the SEC kind of offense.
And who's their offensive coordinator? Is it Colin Klein?
Yes. Yeah, Colin Klein.
I know I've seen people talk about, like, people are really high on him as an offensive coordinator. But I remember I was listening and they were talking about him maybe overcomplicating things for the offense and for Marcel Reed. So maybe that's something that could hurt them, or maybe they fix it up and make it better and not hurting him as much. But that's something maybe to keep an eye out there, if, like, maybe Colin Klein's trying to do too much with the offense, and maybe he should just stick with the QB option and having the QB run it, or, maybe make the quick decisions and letting his playmakers make the ball. Because I think where you might get in trouble here is if you try to draw back to pass with Marcel Reed and he just can't stay in the pocket and can't maybe find those deeper shots that could help you win a game, which that might end up being the problem with this offense.
Yeah, that's an interesting, thought, because obviously this team lost 4 or 5 games to end the year last year, but it's not like that was because teams figured out how to stop this kind of option run game. They scored in those losses. They scored at least 20 points in 3 of the 4. So it's just what wasn't really a problem with the offense not being able to produce. So
they did score 0 against Texans.
Oh, I guess
it was a pick six.
That is true. I mean, but that was a really good Texas defense too. But I'm saying, I mean, like it's not. I don't really put a 43-41 loss to Auburn on Colin Klein's offense. Same with giving up 44 points in a blowout loss on the road to South Carolina. So, and obviously scored a lot of points and wins over LSU and Missouri. So, I mean, I think the offense was serviceable last year. Like, I think you might be right. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I do think if you can add, a little bit more of a reliable passing game here, then I think you have a potentially elite offense. But even if you don't, I think you can stick to the bread and butter of those option runs with Marcel Reed and probably be very successful.
Absolutely. But let's get into the defense here, because this is probably the reason they lost those 4 of the last 5 games they ended up playing. Yeah. Now, familiar face here for us. They bring in TJ Searcy to become that left defensive end for him, or I guess that's what they have him listed on the roster. I'm not sure. Had 2 sacks last year, but I feel like he started really getting on it at the end of last season.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he had some good pass rushing moves, and we'll see how much Mike Elko can develop him. And that's what I'm going to look at here. And this whole defense, I was surprised that they really fumbled down the year, because I think Mike Elko is a great defensive coordinator and maybe one of the best in the country. Maybe he wasn't putting enough attention on it and was looking too much around him. But you look at TJ Searcy, transfer junior, ton of experience, and they got Albert Regis, I think it is, had 16 tackles or 36 tackles last year as a defensive tackle, and it was solid veteran leadership there at nose tackle, which is what you can ask for. They bring in Tyler Odium from Iowa State, I believe.
Yes.
From Iowa State, who, again, 33 tackles at the big defensive tackle spot. Really good player there. And they also have DJ Hicks, who was a former 5-star, if I'm not mistaken. So in his junior year, you would expect him to step up now. Cassius Howell, someone that they are really high on, had 4 sacks last year, but he was also backing up Shamar Stewart and Nick Scorton. So it's someone I know they expect to take a pretty big leap there. And Torian York was one of the best linebackers in the SEC last year. I'm not high on Scooby Williams. We don't need to get too much into that, but yeah. And, look at cornerback. I mean, Des Ricks, a former 5-star. We'll see if he can finally put it together. Transferred from Bama after last year or 2 years ago. So we'll see if he can put it together, but he has that high ranking. And Julian Humphrey, who played a lot at Georgia, is there, who could also start over Des Ricks, who was also former Gator commit, top 100 recruit and everything. So don't think it would be crazy to see him starting. Will Lee is one of my favorite corners in college football. If you remember the Missouri Texas A&M game, where he put they had a blanket put in Luther Burden's room saying "from Will Lee," and
that was him that did that. I remember that.
I think they said it was from him, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't from him. But I mean,
that was him. That was him that was at the center of that. That's funny. I didn't remember that.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I really like Will Lee. Now, there's some things he can improve on. Obviously, wasn't perfect last year, but I really like him. And Jordan Shaw, they bring in transfer from Washington, and also Tyreek Chappelle, who I'm pretty sure was hurt in our game last year, a senior that they really like. So the corners on paper could be pretty good. And safeties, Bryce Anderson, a former near 5-star, and they have Dalton Brooks, who had an interception and 60 tackles last year. So they have experience there. So on paper, they have a ton of experience and high-level recruits that this defense should be good. But just look at the end of last year, and you worry.
And I think my worry here is that, looking at this, I don't think there's a clear area of weakness. Like, I don't think there's a clear, this is the weak link here. But I'm also not sure there's a clear, this should be a really elite position group. I don't know if they have that anywhere. I think there's a lot of solid, and there's some questions. I mean, Searcy coming in, a good player. I think in a perfect world, Florida would like to have him. But at the same time, part of the reason he's leaving is because, he wasn't going to have as big a role maybe as some other guys on Florida. So, I will say, I think Cassius Howell poised for a huge year. Dude went off at Bowling Green in 2023.
I do know the bigger questions around Howell from last year. Apparently, he would get lazy in a run defense. And, maybe made him a bit more inconsistent. But So you're hoping you get a full buy-in from him, so you don't have any weakness from him.
Yeah. I mean, that's what'll be interesting to see. But I mean, I think he's definitely like the clear successor here. After that, he was a big time transfer coming in last year, and then sort of ultimately, like you said, played a smaller role behind a couple of highly drafted NFL guys. So him coming in now, I mean, I think this is potentially, going to be a breakout year for him, but we'll see. It's still a question. You're not going to assume that he can produce at the same level he was producing in the MAC. I mean, I think linebacker like Torian York produced quite a bit last year, and so did Scooby to an extent. I think we know what Scooby is. You can play him. He's serviceable in the SEC. He's also not going to blow your mind, and he's going to make some mistakes. Yeah. And then I think looking at the secondary too, it's kind of in that same vein where it's like Ricks, we'll see, a former elite guy, but haven't really seen it yet. Will Lee is good, maybe not great. And, Jordan Shaw also, we'll see, kind of more of a younger guy coming in from Washington. But I guess it's like, where in this defense, just across the board looking at it, where are you like, I don't have any questions about X? Because I'm struggling to find that.
Like, if you look at it, I mean, if you're looking at their defensive line, their front seven, do you think Florida is going to have an insanely tough time running against this defensive line like they did last year?
No, I don't think so.
No, because, I mean, you look at nose tackle. I don't think Albert Regius is someone that scares Jake Slaughter in one bit. Mm-hmm. Like, Onyedum, maybe DJ Hicks, former 5-star, but it's like, you haven't seen it yet. I mean, if LJ McCray comes out this year and puts up 1.5 sacks like DJ Hicks did and just didn't do anything that much, like, I don't think I'm going to go into my junior year expecting LJ McCray to be a huge difference maker. So I think, like, it could be Hicks, but it's also, like, I don't think that's what the expectation would be right now. Yeah. And then, you have Onyedum, I expect to be solid, but if we have one of the best offensive line like we think we do have, I don't think he's that much of an issue. And I mean, Powell could be a big question in pass rushing. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll see if he can take another step there. And, like, we both think he's poised for success. But, I mean, whether he's lining up against Austin Barber, who's one of the best tackles, was one of the 2 best tackles in the SEC, according to the media poll, according to the media, like, I don't know if those guys are going to be able to get much of a pass rush. And I don't know if they're going to be able to stop the run. Like, and Scooby Williams, if Lagway's healthy and he has his mobility, Scooby Williams really struggles with mobile quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. Like, if you remember the Notre Dame game, Riley Leonard was cooking Scooby Williams, and so was Lenoris Sellers. Like, and if Lagway's healthy, like, he's not as much of a mobile QB. I mean, I think he'd be pretty similar to Riley Leonard in terms of speed and athleticism. I mean, a bit more athletic, I think, but less of a willing and designed runner as Riley Leonard was. So, I mean, maybe he takes another step and grows in his redshirt senior year there, but I feel like we should be able to run the ball, and I think the secondary is where, like, you look at and be like, okay, I think that's where I expect more of a step up, because I like Will Lee. I know you're the Florida with Will Lee, like, although how tall is Will Lee? I think 6'3", so, like, good speed, 6'3". Like, he could shut down a wide receiver one, like he did with Luther Burden. Although I'm pretty sure what's his name, the QB for Missouri, was injured. Brady.
Brady Cook was hurt for most of that game, or maybe that entire game. I can't remember.
I think he got hurt like early on in it.
Yeah,
but then it's like Des Riggs, like, they have the talent at corner, and I think they have enough proven production to where I could see them being able to stop the passing game. But if we're able to run on them, and they have to bring the safeties up, and J. Michael Sturdivant, like, if he's getting past the defense, it just has to happen once, and that could be a touchdown.
Yeah.
So I think, like, if one of these position groups on A&M don't step up to be, like, elites, mm-hmm. then I think our offense should be able to score enough to, win this game.
Yeah, nothing I'm looking at defensively from A&M to me makes me think that it's going to, like, severely inhibit what Florida's going to try to do on offense in this game. I mean, I think the disaster situation that you worry about in this game is just that, once again, because I mean, I will say, down that stretch last year, Florida didn't really have to face a guy like Marcel Reed, a guy who can test you the way Marcel Reed can. So
I guess if you mean I don't know if there's many Marcel Reeds in the country.
Well, the point I'm making is
so Jackson Dart.
To me, that's not the same level
really
of dynamic. He is. I don't think that's the same. He's the same level of dynamic. But the point I'm trying to make is that Marcel Reed torched you last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the thing that's scary is even if the defense is improved from that game, maybe they're just still not really, they don't really have the personnel to stop that, especially with a good offensive line. Yeah. I mean, he might need to have a huge game. But I mean, do you agree with me? I think the pretty obvious disaster situation here is that you just let Marcel Reed run for 150 on you again or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'm predicting this as one of our 2 losses. And again, I think it's because of this running game. Yeah. We talked about it earlier, maybe our D-line depth isn't as much of a concern as we think it is, or hopefully it's not. I think this type of running style where your edges are going to have to be fully locked in. Now, Tyreek Sapp is a better run defender than he is pass defender, and he was third team all SEC, so maybe you're not too much worried there. But George Gums, is he going to be able to stop him on the edge, or LJ McCray or Cam James or whatever, or whoever it is? And the linebackers, I mean, I really like the linebackers and the athletic ability they have, but could they get lost looking in the backfield? Could they get lost thinking that Marcel Reed handed the ball off to the running back, but never mind, he has it. They go after him, but then they realize Terry Bussey's 30 yards down the field, running wide open for a touchdown with just one safety to try to stop him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's a real concern. And I mean, like you said, you have this as one of your losses. I had it as a win. I'm not changing my mind on that. And I do think I'm looking a little higher at them, like you kind of said we would. But I do think, I think that the formula for Florida to win this game is pretty straightforward. And I think if you can sell out to stop the run, I'm not sure this passing offense can punish you for it. So
that's very fair.
So I and I have a lot of questions about the defense. I think Florida will be able to score points in this game. I think I still feel pretty confident about this game if Florida's the team we think they're going to be, just because I think that defensively they'll be able to handle the tricks that Colin Klein's going to throw at them. But again, I think, if you see Marcel Reed, running with a ton of daylight and Florida can't stop Le'Veon Moss and company, yeah, you're probably looking at a pretty tough game, especially being, on the road.
And, some off the field factors to look at. I mean, this is going to be a revenge game for us, after what they did to us last year. And we returned so many players who maybe have this game marked on the calendar. I mean, they probably have every game marked on the calendar, so that's maybe irrelevant there. But, what they did to us last year, and Lagway's homecoming, he's already said that he's going to have family, friends, and former teachers and stuff at this game, because this was the local school. This was a team that he went growing up 2 games to College Station. So could that be something that makes him fold, or maybe it makes him rise? I mean, the quote that you don't rise under pressure, you sink to the level of your training. It's something I really like, but I mean, something like this in a College Station with an environment like this, I feel like it's someone that really could just, can you rise to the occasion or do you fall?
Yeah. And to make tonight's show kind of come full circle, I think one of the things that one thing we didn't mention that I think Lagway said that was very interesting at SEC Media Days was talking about having to miss the Texas game when he was injured. That was obviously, he's closer to College Station than Austin, but was still a homecoming of sorts for him. He said he was going to have a lot of family at the game there to watch him. So he kind of missed out on that opportunity to go play in front of Texas, or in front of, his home state. So I'm sure between that and the way that Florida lost that game, it left a pretty bad taste in his mouth. So this is one he has circled, even more than he already was just coming home. Now this game means even more with him not being able to go in that Texas game. So going to be an emotional night for him. I think that could go one of 2 ways for Florida, but I think it's going to be an emotional game one way or the other.
Yeah, we're going to have so many physical battles against LSU, Miami, and Texas before this game. And we're going to have so many emotional, not just physical, but emotional battles there too. With, Miami is a revenge game and Texas is a revenge game. I mean, at what point is it like, okay, every game's a revenge game for a reason?
Yep.
So, I mean, maybe it is something that really motivates them. And hey, I'm not going to be complaining if we go out there and win this game, or if we win every game, obviously. So, especially, hey, if I said it, if we beat Miami and LSU, I'm not picking us to lose to Texas. If we beat Miami and LSU and Texas, I'm not picking us to lose to Texas A&M. And when we get to the moment, heck, if we go 2-1, I'm not picking us to lose this game against Texas A&M when we get to that week of previewing the game.
Yeah, I mean, my thing with this game is just like, I think the reason I'm sticking with a win ultimately, even though I do think it will be tough, is just because I'm choosing to take, even though I'm kind of the more pessimistic one on the show, I still think I'm taking a fairly optimistic. I mean, I have the Gators at 9-3. Like, if Florida's 9-3, in all likelihood, they'll be a playoff team. So for all intents and purposes, I have the Gators as a playoff team this year. So I'm kind of choosing to take a more optimistic view of things. And if I'm taking an optimistic view of things, like, to me, I just don't see a way Florida is the team we think they can be, and they'll lose this game. Like, to me, if you're going to lose this game, there's a few other games you're going to lose. And I don't think Florida is going to be a 4 or 5 loss team. So it's kind of that simple.
Yeah, a lot of predicting the record isn't about the specific game. It's just about getting the overall record correct and figuring out the pieces of which ones you lose and which ones you win. Something interesting here to look at, though. Of course, Texas A&M gets to face Mississippi State the week before we play them while we face Texas. Now, there's two ways to look at it. After they face us, they face at Arkansas. So I don't think this game is in Jerry World anymore.
Oh, is it not?
Or Arlington. I don't think it is.
I totally missed that. If that's
at Razorback Stadium.
Wow, that's cool. I mean, that game being there kind of sucked. I think on campus is better. I just didn't know that had happened.
Yeah, so I mean, there's one way to look at it as, okay, Arkansas probably isn't going to be that good, so it's probably a team that they're not going to be looking to that Arkansas game as much as they are to Florida, and when they go to LSU and maybe host South Carolina in their big revenge game in Texas. But there's also, it's like, hey, it is a rivalry game. I know. Yeah. Arkansas is probably going to put a lot into that game, and especially if it being the first time it's on, or I don't know, first time in a while, probably it's on campus there. So, I mean, maybe they could be looking forward to it. Maybe they could just put everything into the Florida game. There's so many off the field things that we put value into that sometimes don't need value at all, but there's so many things that occur that can affect performances.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, who knows, A&M had, who does A&M play in non-conference earlier in the year?
So they play Notre Dame week 3.
That's what I thought. I thought they had Notre Dame again. Is that the only tough game they have?
So
in non-conference.
In non-conference. So week 1 they host UTSA. Week 2 they host Utah State. Week 3 they go to Notre Dame. And then I think they host Stanford in the second to last week.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I'm looking up their schedule now. Like, I was about to say maybe they've taken a couple hard losses already at that point, but truth be told, they could. But unless Auburn's better than I think they're going to be, they probably will be like 4-1 at the worst going into that game.
I have them losing to Notre Dame.
I do too.
But then I would probably have them winning against Auburn.
Yeah, I would as well. And then Mississippi State. If you're struggling against Mississippi State, then you got a lot of problems.
Who was the better coach? UTSA. Hey, of these 3 games, rank the coaches: Jeff Traylor at UTSA, Jeff Lebby at Mississippi State, Bronco Mendenhall at Utah State.
Bronco, Traylor, Lebby.
I mean, now if you rank the talent, it's going to be probably Mississippi State first, but coaching matters a lot, and Mississippi State is just not it. And unfortunately, I know I've been talking to some people that are a bit higher on them. Like, when I say higher on them, they're saying they're going to win a game in the SEC.
Yeah, I think they'll be improved, but they might be improved from 2-10 to 3-9. I don't know.
Yeah. I think I don't understand why Luke Kromenhoek went to Mississippi State.
He's not even going to start. He's not going to start this year.
No, he's not. Shapen got injured against us last year on week 4. So, maybe injury concerns and could start. But still, it's you're just outside of 5-star status. And there's probably so many better spots you could have gone and waited a year, because Mississippi State, they're not going to have the talent that the rest of the schools have. Like, unless he plans on staying out, like when Levy, I think Levy's going to get fired at some point in the next year or two, but maybe Croman decides to stay with Mississippi State after Levy is fired, and maybe the new coach is able to bring a spark, but that still doesn't make much sense. But we kind of went on a tangent here. Sorry. But yeah, we'll end this segment right here. I have us losing, but I don't think it's impossible for A&M to have 2 losses going to this game, and probably this being a game we probably should win.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it's, it's going to be tough, but to me, like, if you're going to be Florida and you're going to be a playoff team, considering you've also got, Texas, you got Georgia, you got at LSU, you got Ole Miss, who, we'll see, but probably going to be a little tougher than we're giving it credit for right now. Like, these are the kind of games you got to win. You gotta find a way to go win this game on the road, I think. I mean, obviously, maybe A&M will be way better than we think, but as things look right now, this just is a game that I think you're going to have to win to accomplish what you're trying to if you're Florida.
Yeah, if you want to make the playoffs, then you probably can't lose this. You're another 8-4 Texas A&M team.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's wild how A&M basically goes 8-4 every year.
Yeah, because I mean, it's kind of hard. It's kind of wild to think about the fact that like they were only a couple of breaks away from being like in the playoff mix, right? Right at the end there. But
yeah,
it ended up being like really not even that much better of a season than what they'd fired Jimbo for. So, I mean, I think the vibes around Elko were really good and then got a little worse. I think right now there's just a little bit of like uncertainty. I don't know. Maybe that's a misread on my part, but it doesn't seem like there's not the optimism that I thought there would be after a solid year one.
I feel that. I'm pretty sure I've talked about it way earlier in the offseason, like how A&M is kind of really weird because it's like, I feel like we're not hearing all the hype about him going into Elko under year 2, but I'm still really high on Elko. Like, yeah. I think Elko's a great coach, and
I do too.
I mean, it's kind of weird. Like, I'm looking at the team and I'm looking around. Like, I don't know if I see that team stepping up to be at the level I think UF is going to be. But I'm also like, man, Elko. There's no way Elko doesn't improve his defense, and there's enough rushing talent and offense for it to be a legitimate threat as an offense. So I mean, and there still is a chance that Marcel Reed is able to actually throw the ball around. So. It's kind of weird, but it's a little bit, predicting a bit, but we'll see what happens with A&M.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of do just trust that Mike Elko is going to get things right, because I do have a lot of respect for him and what he's done. Although I will say it is kind of funny that Elko leaves and Manny Diaz comes in at Duke and they like basically don't miss a beat. They went 9-4. We're like sitting right around the same if you look at like the analytics rankings. So like they really didn't have any drop off at all with Elko leaving, but I still, in spite of that, I still think he's a really good coach.
And yeah, I mean, who was the QB? Malik Murphy last year for Duke. Like,
and he wasn't even good.
They purposely kicked him out. Like, he was only good in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And they go out there and pay Darian Mensah. I mean, what was the rumor number? Like 8 million? Like,
or 2? Was it that much?
I'm pretty sure it was
Was it for a year? Number. Was it like 8 million over 2 years?
8 million over 2 years.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was saying for a year. I was gonna say I was like 8 for this year alone.
Oh yeah, crazy. It wasn't supposed to be for a year, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is
they're a football school now.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I mean, look at Kevin Willard leaving Maryland, right? Like,
yeah.
This is kind of happening, like even at more traditional basketball school. Well, the point I'm making is that even at more traditional basketball schools, you're seeing resources being diverted to football because I think these schools ultimately realize that even at Duke, where basketball drives so much fan interest, like just what you stand to gain from being a successful revenue generating football program is a lot, even compared to the best basketball teams.
Yeah, I will say with Maryland, the coach,
Kevin Willard.
Like, I don't think they were too upset about losing him. Like,
I mean, maybe not, but I'm saying he left like pretty vocally because he like thought basketball wasn't getting enough resources relative to football.
Yeah, I think there was also fans that were vocal about them not giving the resources because Willard isn't, good of a coach. But I mean, it's whatever. It's time to wrap this up here. But I mean, it was nice to come back around here with the story of the show in Lagway.
Yep.
Talking about missing that Texas game, and now Texas A&M will be his homecoming, and we'll hope to see that it ends up being a really good homecoming for Florida.
Yeah, hopefully it goes a little bit better than the last couple times they played teams from the state of Texas.
Oh. That reminds me, I don't think we covered this. Florida Gators announced their homecoming game this year.
Actually,
a couple months ago.
I never saw what it was. What got picked?
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. Yeah, I was gonna say. I was like, has to be Mississippi State.
Wasn't our homecoming last year's Ole Miss game?
Was it not UCF?
Oh, it was Kentucky.
Oh, it was Kentucky. Okay.
But then wasn't 2023? I swear one of the games we had like a really big game. Maybe not. Okay, maybe I'm just misremembering. But yeah, I mean that was months ago. I just realized we probably never even discussed it on there. And
I didn't even know that. I mean, it makes sense, but I don't remember ever hearing that.
What feels like more of a homecoming? Lagway going to A&M or Mississippi State coming to the swamp?
Yeah. We get 2 homecoming games in a year, man. That's pretty cool. Not many teams can say the same.
Nope. All right. You got anything else to say before we wrap up the stream here?
No, not a ton. Just, I won't be here next week. So the next time I see you guys, it'll be August, and we're coming down the home stretch here. Next time it'll be inside a month till the season starts, in less than 3 weeks until college football as a whole starts with week 0. So we're getting there, guys. So it'll be, it's getting pretty close.
Yeah. 11 days away from spring practice starting, and 11 days away from 10 days away from spring practice starting, and 11 days away from the NFL Hall of Fame game. Again, that much closer to football. We're just scratching and itching for it. But thank you guys for watching. Natuna won't be here next week, as he just said, but I will be here. Maybe they'll have the numbers released and the roster released for the fall semester here for the football team. But thank you guys for watching the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next week at 7. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, go Gators.